When I was a kid, around 5 or 6 years old, I played a game of hide and seek. And so when it was my turn to hide, I ran to a house in the neighborhood and I lay down flat on my chest between a car and the house on the driveway, and I was just staying there to hide. When I looked under the car, I saw a stone lying over there. So as any adventurous kid, I wanted to grab the stone, gotta have my stone. So when I grabbed it, I noticed that it wasn't a stone, but it was actually a potato. After the game of hide and seek was done, I ran back home and I said to my mom, Mom, I found a potato. And it was not like we didn't have potatoes at home. We had like always a bucket full of potatoes at home. But my mother said, you know what, darling, I have a little spot in the garden available. What we can do is plant your potato into the ground, and in a few weeks there will be a plant, and eventually we can harvest our new little potatoes. So I was completely intrigued by that idea, and so we planted the potato in the garden. After a few weeks, as you might expect, a little potato plant was sprouting from the ground. And it started to grow bigger, and little white flowers started to appear, and I was completely mesmerized by this whole experience. Again, I was about 5 years old. So at some point I kept asking my mother, like, is it ready? Can we harvest them now? She's like, no, not yet. And then after a week again, I said, like, can we harvest them now? She's like, no, not ready yet. And then eventually, of course, she said, okay, it's time to harvest the potatoes. So we pulled out that plant, and there was a whole bunch of new little potatoes, of course, underneath that plant. That same night, we, of course, baked the potatoes in a pan, and they were super delicious. And I was super proud of that entire process, that I planted the potato and I sort of provided the family with some food. So that single potato that probably fell from a grocery bag and rolled underneath that car was probably the thing that sparked my love for vegetable gardening. And today is going to be a little bit of a full circle moment, because ever since that one potato plant, I never actually seeded and harvested any other potatoes after that. However, today is going to be the moment that I'm going to harvest my very first early potatoes. So let's head over to the grow beds and let's see what kind of harvest we will get today. So a little bit of a recap. These are my early potatoes. They are called Annabelle and they are a determinate variety. I did a little bit of an experiment with these two beds, in that this bed over here, I buried the potatoes just as normal. And this bed, I didn't bury them, but I just put them on the soil and then covered them with a mulch. Now, I was just curious if there was going to be a significant difference between the two, but we'll see in a bit. So this was a little bit of a disrupted experiment, in that we had a few difficulties along the way. One was that in April we had our last frost, and by that time the potatoes were already lush and green. And in one night it knocked down all of the foliage and it had to start resprouting again, but that of course means that it had to put a lot of new energy into that. So that will probably have hampered the growth of the potatoes. After that, as you might know, there was a horrendous amount of slugs, and of course they also attacked my potato plants. So they have been pestered and hammered by all sorts of critters and weather conditions. That being said, I am just going to dig them up and see what is left. I'm not expecting the biggest harvest, but hey, a small harvest is better than no harvest. All right, let's start with the buried bed first. I have my gloves on, I have a little shovel. Let's go. Now, what I've noticed over here is that these plants have been pushing the ground up, so that's probably a good sign. Oh, wow. This is starting to look very good. Look over here. I have some nice tubers inside. This is all from one plant. Now these are some very big potatoes. At least I think so. Yeah, and this is just from one plant. And I'm very excited to see that one plant can yield this amount of good looking potatoes. Okay, this is not a potato. Oh, there's another one. Man, I feel like a kid in a candy store. Oh, there's even more. Even more. Man, it went pretty deep. Look at this cute one.
Look at this graph.
Well, for a first harvest, I'm not too disappointed. I think this is about 3 to 4 kilograms with some good sized potatoes over here. Yeah, I'm very glad. Let's head over to the non-berry bed. Now for the non-berry bed, I'm just going to remove the mulch first and then see if there are any potatoes on the surface. I'm not really sure if the plants still dug into the soil in the bed, but we'll see. I just removed all of the mulch on top, and it did indeed look like the plant actually went down and formed some potatoes underneath the ground. Some of them quite superficial, as you can see over here. Some of them are popping out, but hopefully there are a lot more underneath the plant. So let me just pull this one out. Not too many to see over here, but maybe underneath the plant. So this is the non-buried bed. Oh, not too bad. It seems that I can't really find any other potatoes over here, so this is probably it for this plant. Again, the non-buried bed was hit a little bit harder by the frost than the buried bed, probably because of that difference. There's a little plant over here. I'm reluctant to pull it out, but I'm still gonna. I don't expect anything beneath here. Just a few tinier, small ones. All right, let's move on to the third plant. Probably the last one as well, not really sure. Pretty big plant, so I'm hoping for a good harvest. Yeah, some small ones, some big ones. Niks meer hier. Well, that is the harvest of the first early potatoes, and I'm very happy with these. It could have been a lot more, it probably could also have been a lot less, so I'm not complaining over here. Comparing these two different ways of growing your potatoes, I think the berry potatoes are just a little bit more protected against any late frost. So I would grow them the traditional way the next time. I'm going to make a lovely salad out of these, and if you're curious how I prepared the beds in the first place, then watch this video right over here.